One thing which did emerge from the developer underscore direct was that Hellblade 2 is going to be a $50 game. It'll be on Games Pass, of course. Um, but also, there was the announcement that there's not going to be a physical version of the game. There's not going to be a disc that you can buy. You cannot buy Hellblade as a disc, which on its own, you think, okay, fair enough. But what we're seeing now is another sort of example of what looks like a trend from Microsoft in actually something that could lead to the complete discontinuation of Xbox games on physical media. Now, that sounds extreme, but remember the FTC leak where we actually saw previews of the refreshed Xbox Series X machine that's allegedly coming sort of, I guess, towards the end of this year. Adorably all digital, which is a phrase that's going to haunt Microsoft for a long, long time. And now we have this, which is, no physical release for Hellblade. And just the kind of strategy in general that Microsoft seems to be pursuing in evolving its platform to be, I don't know, the way I see it is a kind of almost like a sort of their take on Steam, if you like, which of course doesn't have any physical media involved.
Right.
We wanted to talk about this specifically. You wanted to talk about this, John. So, I mean, it's not a great thing, is it?
I mean, yes, I am disappointed by this, of course, and I've long had a history of supporting this sort of thing, physical media specifically. I guess it's worth noting that with the original Hellblade, that also started life as a digital only game and did eventually receive physical copies.
Yeah.
But I think it's fair to say that there is a trend on the Xbox side to move away from discs. Especially the Series S is the console which has a larger install base than Series X, as far as we can tell. We've seen that FTC thing, which suggests that they want to move towards a disc-free Xbox Series X as well. And frankly, I did raise this point on social media, and there are others that agree with me and are disappointed by this, but at the same time, I've noticed that the Xbox community at large, not only do they not seem to care about this, they genuinely there's a subset of people that get very nasty about this stuff. They are very angry when you bring up the fact that you're disappointed that there's not this option as well. And so, you know, I'm going to say this will be one of the last times I want to talk about this, because it's just not worth fighting this fight on the Xbox side anymore. Like,
Right.
it's not. The people that are interested in physical media will go elsewhere,
Yeah.
and you know, it just that this is how Microsoft's choosing to make money, I think, and that's fine. I think that's their strategy is working. The fans are completely on board with it, and that's okay. Um, and I guess it also, another point that was raised is that Xbox games. So this physical media is not really about preservation to me specifically. I think digital itself is actually more preservation. It's the DRM that's the issue, right? DRM is what prevents preservation, and that is a larger problem. But then, of course, there's piracy to deal with, which is a whole other can of worms, right? But I think with Xbox games, Microsoft has at least chosen to launch all of them on PC as well. And PC itself is an open platform. There is a way, if you know what I mean, to preserve most games on the PC. And for that, I am grateful that they continue to launch day and date on PC, because that is, if I am going to have to accept digital, I would rather do it on PC as a platform versus a
Right.
console, because all consoles are ultimately DRM locked boxes. With disc media and cartridges, even though it's technically true that you don't own the thing, right? You have full control over when you play that disc, unless the game, of course, is an online game relying on a server. And that's kind of this ability to go back and producing DF Retro. I often pull in older consoles, and the internet connectivity of the first generation, like PS3, 360. That is a gigantic pain in the butt to deal with when you pull them out and want to revisit older games. And I do find having the disc makes it much easier and more enjoyable to get back into stuff. So that's why I continue to pursue that myself. But yeah, on PC, as long as we have PC, I think we're okay on that front. Whereas with Nintendo and Sony, there's other concerns there, because not everything that On Sony, some games come to PC. With Nintendo, I would say no games come to PC. So, and thankfully, their security hasn't exactly been robust, to say the least. So, if they had their way, entire generations of games on, like, say, the Wii would be gone forever. But right, like all
Yeah.
the eShop
Until
stuff,
they want to, yeah, until they want to offer some virtual console version of them, right? You know,
right?
like a Disney
Well, no,
Vault style
it's
thing.
it's not just ROMs. It's like original games, like the Wii Shop games, like
Oh,
M2's Rebirth series, the Gradius Contra Castlevania Rebirth. You can't buy those games anywhere. They are not available for purchase, and Nintendo would make it impossible to access them again, even if you did buy them. But thanks to piracy, the heroes in this case, they have actually been saved, which is good.
Well, they've actually rebuilt the Wii Shop
They have rebuilt the Wii Shop.
as a, was it the Reshop?
That's right, the Reshop.
Which is basically,
Exactly.
you know, they've rebuilt it as a, you know, but you don't pay for the games. Now, you know, from a preservation perspective, great, but from a commercial perspective, you know, I do think
And this
there
this
an
is the
argument
problem,
here.
is I feel like companies, it would be better for them to try to meet the customers somewhere in the middle here,
Yeah.
right? People are forced to go to this level to gain access to these games, which shouldn't just disappear from existence. And if companies were more willing to meet their customers halfway, maybe this wouldn't be a problem. I mean, I would say, DRM aside, Xbox has admittedly done a good job with making many, but not all of their old games available again, which is great with their backwards compatibility program. So I commend them for that. I don't know. It's such a complicated situation. I understand business wise why Microsoft would want to phase out discs, especially given that they've been pushing Game Pass. That's where they're making a lot of money. I think their audience has largely accepted that that's the way they want to play their game. I don't think they're going to stop offering digital sales either. I don't expect Game Pass to become the de facto method of accessing these games. It's just that they've chosen a different path, and as far as the disc stuff goes, which yeah, I lament it, but I've learned to accept that that's what they want to do. And
Well, you've also noticed, especially in Germany, that, and I think it's also the case in the UK as well, that the actual physical presence of Xbox Media in game shops is kind of dwindling.
yeah, they do still sell physical games here on shelves, both at specialty stores and larger electronic stores. I mean, we're seeing them phase out in the US with like Best Buy kind of disappearing. But Xbox sections in particular have been mostly evaporating, like just they're gone or reduced to very few games, which to me makes me wonder, what do the retailers know? Is it just them not ordering them, or is it like some
Selling.
other communication happening somewhere down the chain where it's like, hey, this is not what we're doing going forward, right?
Yeah, I mean, I still think that there's a crucial role for physical media to play, which we haven't discussed, which is, well, you know, the classic arguments. You don't own the game. You can't resell the game. You
Right.
can't share the games with your friends. If you think back to that classic E3 2013, the thing that sunk Xbox One was that video of, Shuei Yoshida giving a game to somebody else and basically saying, yeah, that's how we share games on PlayStation 4. You know, that was basically a defining video for that generation, that, you know, that just was the final nail in the coffin of Xbox's nascent plans to do exactly what they're doing now, which is, you know, to reduce or to change the way that people actually access games. So, you know, that all of that stuff's going to be the preserve of PlayStation and Nintendo, seemingly.
It's just, to me, it feels like a missed opportunity for them to capitalize on a certain subset of their fans, like at least offering like special editions or like versions of these games on the disc media. Or maybe what if they transition to some sort of like alternative drive system, whether it's a USB stick. They wouldn't do it, but there's little SSDs. Like, I thought that would have been something like that would have been amazing. Expensive, but I would have been willing to pay more for like a game on some sort of media like that.
Well, we can assume that whatever Switch 2 is going to be isn't going to be game carts as they are right now. They need a high bandwidth delivery system.
Yeah,
Those are
and
different. Yeah.
more
So it is
space in general.
comparable to. I mean, it's going to be some sort of high-end flash, I'm sure. So yeah, I mean that would be a potential solution there.
But I guess I'd like to know if you're out there listening to this and you're big, primarily an Xbox player, do you care about having discs as something as an option for some users, or would you prefer they just go away entirely and the system goes all digital? I'm actually curious to know what the larger population thinks, because I do see it kind of divided online. Some Xbox fans still very much want the option, others seem to want it to go away.
So I'm actually curious, what is preventing the equivalent of made to order for a video game physicalized disc?
They need to
I
be made in
collect.
bulk, right?
Dude,
Cost,
like
maybe.
I don't know. Like I guess maybe they do, but like maybe I don't know. I just feel like in the era of like 3D printing and of the fact that I've always been able to burn a disk in my gosh darn drive on my own computer, I've always wondered like why can't you just have like a made to order disc version of a game? It could be pretty simple. It doesn't need to be special. Like what is preventing this?
Part of the problem, though, Alex, I think, is, and this is unique to games versus other mediums, because obviously music and films have shifted largely digital, right? But Blu-ray discs, music CDs, vinyl records, even cassette tapes, they're still made and manufactured today.
Oh yeah, they
The
are.
difference there is that the hardware required to play them is not a closed standard. So any company can make one of those. And as long as there is some demand, there will be a company making a device that can play that media. But with a console, it's a lockdown system. Not anybody can make that. If the manufacturer doesn't provide a means for playing physical media, then there is no option. It is impossible.
Like
The
with the new
Series X
Xbox, yeah.
does have a disk drive, but if they follow those plans and phase it out, and the two machines on sale no longer have that as an option, that's it. Right?
There's no
There
point
is
anymore.
there is no vinyl record resurgence happening if the disk drive or the card reader or whatever is removed, and that's really the bummer with games. That's different from other media.
Yeah,
I would say.
It's sad because it feels like there could be a boutique market there, but I guess not.
I get what you're saying, Alex, because we could have a made-to-order Digital Foundry gosh darned T-shirt.
Yeah, right.
So why not a game?
Yeah.
I think there's something going on here. I think there's definitely a transition period happening for Xbox at the moment, where they're wondering, what's the plan going forward? Where do they want Xbox to be in 5-10 years from now? And I don't think physical media is part of that equation. I honestly think they're eyeing Steam and wondering what they can do as their sort of take on it. And if you think about what's actually happening with Steam, that they've got their own console now. So they're kind of doing an Xbox from a certain perspective. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, and the thing about Steam Deck though is that it's still a PC, which means it is open, and there are ways to get things into Steam that maybe Valve does not directly offer.
Well, maybe this is again part of the Xbox plan, right? I mean, do they really need heavy DRM? I honestly think
I would hope no.
I think they should be
too.
thinking about some sort of preservation mechanism. I think we were talking about this just before we started filming, John, where, if you've got like 10-year-old games on your platform, remove the DRM.
Yep,
There's
I
nothing
agree.
to lose by doing
Get rid of
so.
it.
Yeah.
Get rid of that DRM. Yeah, this kind of ties into what we talked about last week with like Microsoft themselves taking more of a Steam Deck approach with Xbox, where they build a version of Windows 11 that behaves like the Steam Deck game mode portion of its Linux distro. And it's a closed, polished platform that feels like a console, but is still fundamentally a PC, allowing them to continue to offer Xbox consoles, but also exploring like the handheld space and basically changing the nature of what Xbox is to embrace the positive side of digital, because there is definitely positives there. So I think there is a chance for some pretty cool things to be done in that space that I could be okay with. It's just the platform right now kind of hangs in a weird spot where, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, John. Like for me, we did talk about this before you started, but as soon as I think a lot of people, as soon as it goes all digital, there's, like you said earlier, there's going to be a lot of people who are just been like, okay, so Why don't I just buy the PlayStation 5 version of that game maybe instead? And I think that's going to end up happening to a degree for those people that don't want to migrate to PC, or, for some reason are still invested in that Xbox ecosystem at that point.
I mean, yeah, I have moved primarily to PC. I would say in the last year or so, PC has become my main platform again, which hasn't been the case for a while, but there it is.
I would like to see some clarity on what these future plans are because, honestly, when I'm seeing these statements from Satya Nadella, honestly feels like it's undermining the messaging that's coming from Phil. And there needs to be some clarity there, to be honest. And yeah.
Oh, with like the targeting the different platforms?
Targeting the different platforms and just basically what is the vision for Xbox at this point, because it's not really clear, because certainly the developer direct seemed to be mostly business as usual, right? Indiana Jones is going to be on Xbox and PC, not PlayStation.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's kind of conflicting signals there. Maybe it is just the ABK stuff that's multi-platform. Right. Who knows? We kind of need a bit of clarity there. I'm not really sure at the moment what Xbox stands for anymore, but only because of these rumors, right? And the stuff that's happening on the acquisition side. I mean, what I will say is that if Microsoft has any more grand plans for acquisitions on the scale of Bethesda or ABK, then
oh my goodness,
I kind of think they've got to be fully multi-platform at that point, just to pass the regulatory hurdles that were faced with their most recent acquisition.